Good morning, Dr. Gayathri. Welcome to the Say Cheese platform. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, and a real pleasure to connect with you, Saraswati, and Rajpreet, of course. Inspirational stuff that you guys are doing, and glad to be a part of this community.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And did you have to take time off from your teaching today?
Fortunately, I don't teach today since you gave me the luxury of choosing my slot. I was able to work around my teaching commitment. So yeah, thank you so much for asking. But it's a perfectly good time to speak.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Just moving on to the session, we're going to start with introducing you to our audience, and then we
Yeah,
can get going on the topic at hand. Would that be a good
sure,
start? Lovely,
perfect.
lovely.
Please go ahead with it.
So, Dr. Gayatri, you are an associate professor of strategy at the IFMR Graduate School of Business.
Yeah.
You are a management professional with over 2 decades of experience as a consultant and entrepreneur. You have worked in the leadership roles in globally reputed consulting organizations. A decade ago, you switched tracks to become an academician, pursuing a PhD, and then becoming a full time faculty with two eminent business schools in India. You're passionate about entrepreneurship and believe women are excellent business people. How lovely. It's always nice to have women encouraging women and, coming on our platform. And, there's just so much that we can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking that time out. So, leading
Pleasure.
your enterprise, that's the topic for today. And
Mm-hmm.
before we get into really the deeper into the topic, I just wanted to understand a fundamental question. So, why
Sure.
should women consider entrepreneurship?
I'm going to go and look at some of my own career experiences and then related to the topic that I thought I would like to share my thoughts on is, while we do talk about an emancipated world and women being equal to men, etc., and I'm sure you will agree with me, Rajpreet, is that when we talk about careers in the corporate world, the glass ceiling is very much a reality, and you might have possibly the best accomplishments in the world, but there are other aspects to a woman which would somehow always kind of make her seem on the back foot with respect to her male colleagues. So many women overcome it, go on to become leaders and inspirational figures in themselves, but at the same time, many opt to play a lesser role in the workforce. Now, I'm not saying they all quit and go, but they do accept that sometimes some of the other aspects of their lives would take precedence over their professional lives,
Right.
which is really a tragedy because I think there is so much more to women beyond just the other roles that we associate with them.
Correct.
Now, somewhere, I'm sure all of us have encountered these glass ceilings. We've coped with them, maneuvered through all the labyrinth of corporate rules and regulations. But somewhere I found that when I did my own two enterprises, it was a very empowering experience. I made the rules, I decided what I wanted to do, and I decided what were my benchmarks for success. And I really feel these benchmarks for success is something which should really inspire women to consider entrepreneurship.
Excellent. Very, very well said. And spoken from the heart with your own experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what are some of the enablers to become an entrepreneur?
So I think the first thing is a sense of curiosity. I think what happens, especially with us women, and I'm all for women being completely self-empowered, self-driven, etc.
Yeah.
Is that life does tend to catch up with us, and somewhere we tend to take life for granted. So it could just be our narrow spaces with our family or with our professional colleagues or whatever. But I think a sense of curiosity is a very key competency that women should have, and constantly keep looking both outwards as well as inwards. I mean, during the pandemic, we've seen a lot of instances of women looking inwards and finding out hidden strengths which brought them to the fore as entrepreneurs. I mean, success stories galore of all ages, ranging from a teenager to a 95-year-old woman who made pickles. So I think the sense of curiosity, the sense of introspection are two enablers that would help women become successful entrepreneurs. That's part of self. The other one is networks. And I think, again, as women get drawn into their daily lives, it tends to consume them. We tend to lose, you know, touch with some of our connections. And I don't want to call it as networking because that makes it seem as though it's a socializing for profit. But I still believe that women should look at building groups which constantly keep them on their feet, whether it is with sharing life stories, whether it is about being your own self, discovering your own potential. And even within my social circle and my professional circle, I've seen that these networks play the role of catalysts to a large extent. I mean, somewhere something can trigger new discoveries, new journeys. So building the network is one of those enablers. The third is, I'm a great advocate of reading. It could be anything. I mean, the more you read, the more you get clued into what is happening. It could be the newspapers, could be books, could be poetry, could be in any language. But I just think that reading is another way to broaden your horizons. That's part of the key things that women need to do to make sure that they don't get lost in the chaos of the daily lives. And last but not the least is to keep an open mind. We would always have naysayers in our lives who would say, "Why now?" You know,
Yeah.
you it could be, "Why more?" These are some of the questions. So, I think you need to build that belief or foster that sense of belief in yourself that I am more than what people make me out to be,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what are the enablers for entrepreneurship.
Wonderful, wonderful. And just picking on about the community, and
Yeah,
that's a which came to us from, I think, everywhere that we
yeah,
spoke. And that
yeah,
was the idea of building the Say Cheese community app, where you can be part of clubs and have conversations which will make you feel a part of a larger system rather than
absolutely.
thinking in isolation and working in isolation. That was the whole idea of the Say Cheese community app.
Yes,
We have our experts and professionals on board. Sometimes you just need to talk, right? And
absolutely.
take a view whether your thinking is correct or not.
Yeah.
So that was really the intent. Moving on further in the session, in your experience, what are the kind of traits, skills, and competencies that women entrepreneurs need to display?
Okay, so the first trait, I will speak about these in three separate buckets. So the first trait is actually the sense of self belief, as I mentioned in my previous statement. Okay, is that you are not a sum of what your family or your education is. You are you. Who that you is what you need to be comfortable with. So you need to accept yourself. You need to be able to tune out uh, the good from the bad, because women are very sensitive by nature. It's an extremely positive trait because that makes us very empathetic. But at the same time, a lot of our sense of esteem comes from outside of us. So you need to build that image of yourself. So the first trait is self belief. The second trait is confidence. Okay, and the belief that the venture that you are thinking of is for yourself.
Yeah,
Please do not think about it as something to help your family financially, or do not attribute larger motives to it. Okay,
yeah,
that somehow then takes it on a different trajectory. You build in unnecessary pressures.
yeah,
So it's just say that it's something that you do for yourself, whether it's a not for profit or a for profit or even a community welfare organization. Just say that it's something that's probably plugging a desire within you. Okay,
yeah,
so believe in what you do. That's the second trait. I'm now going on to skills, which is constantly upgrade.
yeah,
That's something which is very critical because the world is moving fast, and we need to make sure that we are not left behind. So there's no age is no bar for learning, and with the advent of technology now, there are a lot of courses available. You never know, maybe your passion lies in some other area which you never thought it would. So use every opportunity for skilling, use every opportunity to acquire newer skills. Like for instance, social media, everybody's talking about social media now. I've seen people of my generation saying, "Oh, I don't know what it means." Okay, but the world is on social media. Okay, and it's a double-edged sword. So you figure out how to wield it to your advantage. Choose how you want to engage with it. If you're interested in science, then learn some newer programs, because that makes sure that you are still relevant from a competency point of view. In terms of competencies, I would say, so skilling is definitely the need. Whatever your area you're looking at, constantly make sure that you are abreast of what's happening in your field, in your area of interest, and don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
A lot of it is possible now for free, so you don't really need to look at investments in terms of money. It would just be a small investment of time. Figure out a schedule, but make sure that you're learning at least something new, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. So that's something that would go a long way. In terms of competencies, I would say that women are generally blessed with the ability to multitask. Okay. But somewhere we prioritize some tasks over the other. So
Right.
I would say that focus on maybe the task that you don't like. So it could be finances, it could be marketing, it could be public speaking. So build up those competencies.
Correct.
You could use your family as guinea pigs, you could use your other extended social networks as guinea pigs, but build the ability to speak for yourself. So that's a key competency. Otherwise, you'll have people speaking for you, which is
Yeah.
not something that we want. So find your own voice,
Right.
learn how to articulate that voice, and I think those are some key competencies that you would anyway be able to combine with your skills and your traits to become the winning package that is an entrepreneur.
Very, very, very practical points. I mean, we know all of these, but somehow they just get missed in the whole process of living
Yeah,
a living a life. But
true.
very practical tips. I mean, nothing that I thought was not achievable or
Yeah,
difficult. So yeah, thank you. It's the reminders are always necessary.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just moving on, and we are almost at
Sure,
the end of the
sure.
question. What are the current and future opportunities that women can consider when starting out on their own?
All right. So, I mean, we've all seen the success of Falguni Nair.
Yeah,
Okay. I think the fact that she's one of the most successful women entrepreneurs who's running a profitable venture, which is a
yeah,
big thing in when we talk about tech-based business models,
right.
is very inspirational. And it started off with something which is very close to a woman's heart, which is how do you make yourself look good?
Yeah,
Okay. And well before that, you had Shena Hussain and the Vandana Luthra and all of them. They answered something very basic, which is how can women look and feel good? Okay.
right.
So I think the sense of external beauty is something which is going to be there forever. There are now multiple offshoots of
Yeah,
friendly cosmetics, of using natural plant based products, etc. So and that's something which is very close to a woman's heart. So those are areas which are expanding. You could choose to look at products, you could choose to look at services. If you look at all the Instagram influencers, these are all services that are emerging and they're building empires around that. So definitely personal appearance is an area where I don't think we are going to see any decline in demand. It's going to be a way that we live with, and there are multiple opportunities. And it's a great time to be an entrepreneur in India because we are a country which is hungry for more. Okay,
yeah,
we are constantly looking for different models, and with our mobile penetration, I think anything with apps, which is the Say Cheese platform, is a brilliant way to connect with customers across the length and breadth of the country. The other is something which is very close to my heart, which is social entrepreneurship, which is where I see women making a big difference because you know it's about giving back to society and at the same time seeing if you can build a business model around it, which is something which is, I think, a puzzle that women will intuitively relish because it will tick all the boxes of becoming independent, of becoming empowered, and at the same time doing social good. And if you see case studies like Menstrupedia and Empani,
yeah,
these are very motivating stories of women actually providing a social dimension to a profitable venture.
yeah.
So I think that's another area. Social entrepreneurship is something that women should seriously consider and go beyond just looking at NGOs or charitable trusts and seeing how they can build a business around it, because that makes it that much more scalable then. Okay. Last but not the least is education. I think as a country, anything we do in education will just be a drop in the ocean.
Right.
And anything to do with education, either with technology, without technology, content, is always welcome. So, these are some of the three areas that I see as being ripe for the taking. Anyone wanting to jump into those would find some opportunity or the other which could give them the success.
Wonderful. I think in many ways, somehow, I don't know how it is working out, but Say Cheese is ticking a lot of those boxes, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
We are a social entrepreneur in the sense, you know, we are doing work with a certain, need that we'd like to fulfill, which we felt
Sure.
in our lives, you know,
Mm.
about having mentors to talk to and, you know, people to talk to extend our circle of influence. We have experts in the space of career, health, relationships, personal appearances, and you know all of that.
Mm.
And yet, at the same time, we are also educating. You know, we are
Yeah.
educating topics that we feel are important. So
True.
yeah, in some ways, you know, I think we are there, and it's just about now, you know, going out and being, you know, more seen in the market as the right, partners
Yeah.
for kind of a
True.
decision.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
thank
Very
you
true.
so much for putting it all across to us in a very, very interesting and a, you know, like a
Thank
concise.
you.
I think that was the biggest learning. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Gayatri. Very, very
Thank you
appreciate.
very much, Rajvi. Thank you. Appreciate it, and best wishes to Say Cheese.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Take care. Bye.